So, this was a segment that we did not really intend to do. I didn't think we were going to do this. In fact, I took a chat last time where I explicitly said I do not intend to do this segment. But I'll explain to you why we are going to anyway, because certain circumstances have changed. So, Steven Crowder has been feuding with the Daily Wire since a contract dispute earlier this year when they made him an offer that he didn't like. We covered that a bit. Now, the Daily Wire's Candace Owens had apparently hinted that Crowder had been going through some tough times in his life, with Crowder then confirmed on his show last week, announcing publicly that he had been going through, for the last year and change, a, quote, horrific divorce. Now, in his video, he said that the divorce was not his decision, implying that he was heartbroken at his wife's desire not to be with him anymore. And so for this reason, I initially decided we're going to leave this one alone. Who cares about Steven Crowder's divorce? Not really our business. Not really the kind of show we like to do. And, you know, if Crowder was being truthful there and he was heartbroken and this was a traumatic thing for him and his family, then why should Candace Owens go and air that dirty laundry? It's just kind of a low thing to do. We were really not interested in that. But since then, details have emerged, which this probably shouldn't be too surprising. They suggest that Crowder wasn't really being honest in his representation of his family situation. We learned that Crowder had skipped the birth of his twins in order to get elective surgery on his chest. He had a sunken chest.
He falsely complained it was a medical condition.
Yeah, he falsely said it was because he couldn't breathe or and things like that.
That it was limiting the blood flow in his heart, but it wasn't. It was completely untrue. It was totally cosmetic.
Yeah, right. And we also learned that shortly after the birth of his twins, he bought himself a townhouse and separated from his family, which obviously just completely refutes his claim that the wife wanted to separate and that had he had his way, they would still be a family. So after Crowder went public with what seems like a pretty flagrant misrepresentation, his wife contacted journalist Yashar Ali, who broke some of the details we just went over, and he also posted this now viral video of a discussion between Steven Crowder and his wife Hilary, which seems to be about a dispute over her having to go pick up groceries and him not wanting her to take the car, the one family car of the Steven Crowder household, a multimillionaire household here. So we're going to play some of this and break this down a little bit. And once again, the reason we're doing this is just one, because it seemed like what Crowder said when he went on air was just a complete lie. And number two, as a twin dad myself, who knows what it's like to have a wife 8 months pregnant with twins, as she is in this video, I feel I have some insights and maybe advice for some of the listeners, and maybe even to Steven himself if he happens to come by this. So here we go.
I drew a boundary. No, you just did it. I drew a boundary in abusive and cruel. You were not taking the car. Because if you refuse to do wifely things, then I will go pick up the groceries.
There is no groceries. I'd be happy.
Steaks, wood pellets, my grill. I know it's an unreasonable request, but I'll go do it. How about you first? Hilary, how do you respect the man? Yes. How do you man? How do you man? You see love and respect. No. How do you man? No, you're not taking the car.
Steven,
you're not taking the car.
Okay. Now, a couple things here. There was a cut in there. You can tell by the time code on the bottom right of the screen. The wife did submit this to the journalist, which means there might be some information in here that she is editing out that makes her look bad. And it's quite possible that she's kind of a lousy person herself. The only thing we know about this person is that she fell in love with Steven Crowder, which doesn't speak great things to her character either, right? So this is not about defending her as a person. Number one, you got your wife there is 8 months pregnant. You're sitting there smoking a cigar. First of all, to be smoking a cigar in her presence is not at all considerate in the first place. Second, She's 8 months pregnant with twins. You're in a dispute over groceries and errands with a woman who is 8 months pregnant with twins. She probably has about 12 and a half pounds of baby inside her. Imagine walking around. Imagine for all the men in the audience, our 85% male audience, walking around with a 12 and a half pound weight in your stomach. Not just in your stomach, but feeding off the nutrients that you take in. Think of that. Think of how difficult it is to do anything under those circumstances. And here, he's berating her that she
Very
can't
much
take
like
the car.
the Alien series, only
Right.
for real.
Right, exactly. Here we go.
You are not.
Then I
pregnant.
will ask them to take the food out. Would you like me to ask?
Oh, that's right.
As long as you got Steven.
Get an Uber.
Okay, Steven, I can't.
Feeling some constraints?
Steven.
Like, I can't
Steven.
go. Listen to me. You want to walk out right now? Listen to me. I can't go to the gym. I can't go to my parents. I can't call my friends. I can't be home. You're going to take the car and leave me here. Hilary, just think of how boxed in you've made me.
What do you need me to pick up? I'll get it. I'll be back when I'm back.
No, that doesn't work either. You'll be back when you're back. That doesn't work either.
See,
Do you understand the difference between my life being set to the second and you going, I'll be back when I'm back?
Steven.
Okay, I wanted to pause it
Yeah,
there.
he is a sick fuck. Because, look, one of the things that's so strange about this, he's a multi-millionaire, man. He could pick up the phone and get whatever he wants. He's talking about how he can't go anywhere if she takes the car. What are you talking about? You could order a limo. It'll be there in 20 minutes for you with the money.
You can have a driver on standby.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what's surprising to me too. Like they're talking about getting groceries. Like what?
Yeah. You ever hear of Instacart? I'll
Yeah,
bring the groceries there.
Right. You can get Keaton.
Get
He'll
Keaton to
drive
come
out there. He'll drive out there.
Drive down to Texas, deliver you some, taco sauce, whatever you eat down there, right? But it's amazing that, there's only one car, which does suggest an element of he wants to control where she is. Because if he didn't, why would you not have more than one car, right? But the other thing, look, let's say we interpret this charitably to him, which is he says, I can't go to my friends, I can't go to the gym, I can't go to my parents. Let's say he's not saying that because she's going to take the car. Let's say, because he says, my life is timed to the second, meanwhile you say you'll be back when you're back. He may feel a little boxed in, a little restrained by the fact that his wife is pregnant. Maybe she requires some more care. I doubt that. He doesn't seem like he's very interested in providing any of that care. He's just lounging. I mean, to have this conversation while you're lounging on your ass, smoking a cigar outside, hectoring your wife who's trying to go pick up groceries for you is just amazing. But let's say he is feeling a bit of a pinch there. Let's say his lifestyle is feeling pinched there. Because you know what? When you have kids, especially when you have twins, as I do myself, it is a huge lifestyle change, dramatic, overnight. Now, she has not given birth yet to the kids.
Right.
But yes, it does require an immense sacrifice. Everything about your life changes, and it can be difficult. So, if he's going through some of that, I sympathize with that. But on the other hand, this is a guy who takes to the airwaves 5 days a week and lectures people about the importance of being a family person, abstinence to marriage.
Right.
He's a real Christian right culture war crusader. And yet you don't have the wherewithal, you don't have it in you to suck it up and get through this, when I know you lecture people about this all the time, how they ought to be willing to.
Right.
But the thing is, when a lot of these Christian right zealots, especially the men, go off on those tears about family and the importance of family values and the family unit and being a strong father, what they mean is they need a dominion for themselves, right? And the wife has to bear the burden of raising the kids and cooking the food and keeping the home. And the man, because he provides, in this case, Crowder, makes God knows how much money on his YouTube and, whatever, podcast and all this stuff. He gets to feel like he's doing his part and he gets to keep living his life more or less as he already has been. Right? So it's easy to preach family values when you don't expect that it should affect you in your daily life all that much. Of course, that's not realistically how it works. When your wife gets that pregnant, it is an enormous struggle for her to do anything, which means, you're going to be inconvenienced by it. it's going to be a major change. No, you're not going to get to go to the gym whenever you want or see your friends whenever you want. And, you know, that's part of it. That's part of it. And for someone who preaches this as the ideal life, he should be a little bit more prepared to actually deal with it instead of being this pussy sitting on his couch on his ass, smoking a cigar, not letting your wife borrow the car to go pick up groceries for you. See, I told you, folks, this is going to be a family values sermon.
Well, I mean, from what
host
this show's a little different than the other shows we usually do with crude sexual humor. Well, for one thing, I mean, there's a long history of these kind of Christian right religious figures having a lot of hypocrisy. I think very often people who are very interested in telling other people how to live their lives or have some issues, right? I mean, if you're that into telling other people how they should live, you probably got some skeletons in the closet. You probably have something you're trying to hide about yourself. Right. It's
exactly.
it's the stereotype of the anti-LGBTQ gay preacher.
Yeah, right? Some shame, some regrets, some what could have been had this happened, had that happened.
Well, a lot of these people are just straight up narcissists. So, there's a whole Candace Owen side story here. She says that this is typical of him. That basically he's this, just very unstable person with poor emotional control who lies constantly to the people around him. And, given that she did, Owens brought the receipts on this guy went and lied to his viewers about having a chest condition that's constricting his heart so that he gets half the amount of normal blood, and had people literally praying for him on air for his life, right? I mean, that's a sick fuck. Who does that?
Yeah.
Who does that? So somebody who would do that, it kind of all goes together. People don't act the way they act by accident. And usually once you know something like that about them, it'll connect to their behavior in other areas.
Right. All right, let's keep going.
The only way out of this is discipline and respect. It's the only way out of it, or we're at an impasse.
We are at an impasse.
Good. Because you can't have any discipline or respect.
Yeah.
So, there you go. You throw your hand, you give up so easily.
I don't give up so easily.
Hilary,
Stephen?
you give up so easily. I just said the only way out of this is discipline.
Okay, see, that's the part that really gets me going. Is you give up so easily. She's 8 months pregnant with twins. For her to get out of bed.
What are you even talking about?
For her to get out of bed and dress herself like that and prepare to leave the house, just the act of getting up,
right,
getting dressed, and preparing to leave the house. When you are 8 months pregnant with twins, again, my wife was 8 months pregnant with twins once. I know what I'm talking about. The act of getting out of bed and preparing to leave the house shows 10 times the tenacity and resiliency that this piece of garbage will ever show for anything, right? I mean, it's incredible how you could sit there and say, you give up so easily.
I know,
she's 8 months pregnant with twins. She's going to get your growth. She's going out to run errands at 8 months pregnant. When my wife was 8 months pregnant, it was a struggle waking up. I mean, that is brutal. That is absolutely brutal. I remember she would sleep 10, 12 hours a day. She'd have to. She'd have no choice.
Right,
I mean,
right.
it's incredibly straining. And she's 8 months pregnant with twins. She's getting up. She's got her stuff together. She's got the keys. She's ready to go food shopping. And he says, you give up so easily? What a sick man. Jesus Christ, man. And this is what I mean.
And again, why doesn't he have a personal assistant to do those things?
Right.
To
why
take
don't you have
that burden off his wife?
Exactly.
I mean, the money he has, he could hire 10 of them.
Right. It's incredible. It's absolutely amazing. And like I said, it's been pointed out that there are a couple cuts in the video. You could see in the bottom right corner, there's a time code, right? There's a timestamp. And there are 2 points where that timestamp skips ahead by a few seconds. So it's possible because she sent this video out. So it's possible that there could be something in there that makes her look bad. It's possible that they could just say the name of their kids that they don't want public, or they could say something that they just don't want people to see, right? I'm not saying it has to reflect poorly on her, but whatever was omitted from the video, there is no context in which this is okay. There's no context in which berating your pregnant wife to then walk the dog as he does here. So here, this is where it gets even better.
Respect. He said, then we're at an impasse.
Steven, no, we are at an impasse, okay? I love you, but Steven, your abuse is sick. Your abuse
Watch it.
is sick.
Watch it.
See, watch it. That's a threat there. Watch it. Watch it.
Right. What kind of a way is that to talk to her?
Yeah. And it suggests that she knows what the consequence might be.
Yeah,
if
look,
she doesn't
the whole way that he's speaking, whatever she might have cut out, the whole way that he's speaking, that's there's only so out of context that could be, because you have to be a certain kind of person to even think like this.
You have to be a certain kind of person to be sitting on your ass smoking a cigar while your wife is 8 months pregnant. Anyway,
right. I mean, that speaks for itself.
Right.
But then, like, this logic that's very controlling, narcissistic kind of logic. Oh, you give up too easily. Oh, no, you're not going to leave me here. Again, we're not talking about two people living in a trailer with one car. We're talking about a guy who can very easily go wherever the fuck he wants, whether she takes those keys or not.
Right. Exactly.
Fucking watch it.
I'm gonna let go. I'll get what you need me to get. And I need some space. We need to just stop engaging for a little bit. Okay? I love you. I love you very much.
I don't love you. That's the big problem. I've never received love from you. And the fact is, when I go, look, I need you to do A, B, C, and D, you just be disciplined about it. You go, no. But I love you more than life itself. Okay. Put on some gloves. No. But I love you more than life itself. That's not fair. That's not fair, and it's disingenuous. Hillary, you're right. We're at an impasse.
Yeah,
Become someone, listen to me, day in and day out, worthy of a wife. No, not as a wife.
See, there was an edit there.
As a wife.
Hillary, come on now.
I'm not gonna engage. I'm not gonna engage anymore. I'm gonna go. I'll text me what you need. I'll get you what you need.
See, she tries to de-escalate. You know, she handles it very well. She doesn't feed into it.
To you.
Put on some gloves. Are you committed to do those things?
I'm not gonna.
Okay, so he's asking her to walk the dog and put on some gloves, because apparently the dog there, the white dog,
clean. What is he talking about?
Does he want her to pick up dog shit, or according to the story, the dog requires some medication that she fears is toxic to her unborn babies, and so he says, put on some gloves to handle the medication. Now, again, what context would make that okay? And under what circumstances would you tell your 8-month pregnant wife to walk the dog? Just walk the dog. Let's take the medicine out of it, right? Or whatever she needs the gloves for out of it. Just ordering your 8-month pregnant with twins wife to walk the dog, when once again you're sitting on your ass smoking a cigar, when the dog is sitting right there. Grab the leash, take the cigar, walk the dog yourself. Like, there's absolutely no universe in which it is not completely diabolical to tell your wife, walk the dog. Then if she's concerned that there's a substance that's going to hurt the baby, you say, well, put on some gloves. Walk the dog, put on some gloves. You're sitting there doing nothing. It's amazing. It's just amazing that it's amazing that a person could be so narcissistic as to not register the just how horrible they're being in that moment. Like, how do you not take a step back and say, wait a minute, what's going on here? I'm sitting down smoking a cigar and I'm ordering my 8-month pregnant wife to walk the dog and pick up either dog shit or feed the dog medicine with gloves to keep the toxic stuff off of her hands. It's just incredible what a nightmare of a person you have to be.
Well, yeah. I mean, sure, whatever she cut, there's nothing that would justify this behavior. It's interesting to speculate what this will do to his career in that space. It's hard to say. I try to consume a fair amount of the media on that side because, one, you kind of have to, because of the way the media is siloed. They'll cover things that you won't see on the left. But also to get a sense of what they're talking about, what they're thinking, where they're coming from. And, look, this is not going to play well in that circle. How much of a consequence it has for him in terms of his followers and patrons, I would think it would be pretty damning for him. Like, there's no really good way to spin this.
He got some negative feedback in his comments. And yeah, I mean, look, the thing is, for guys like this and shows like this, there are kind of two audiences for it. There's the one audience who are sincere, like family values, Christian right people. And then there is like the incel terrorist
I think he
audience.
loses those people.
Right, but then
There
there's
is-
like
there
the
is that.
repressed incel terrorist audience who will take his side. I watched this one channel. I forgot what it was, man. It was just, I mean, it was really sick that like they took his side and they were talking about this.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's just,
Wow.
man, the audience for
All
that.
right, so he'll get the Andrew Tate audience.
Right. Well, yeah, exactly. But that online, that's a sizable audience. Here, let's just let
True.
this finish. It's almost done.
You just said I love you. I'm committed to that. Walk the dogs, put on some gloves.
I need to
Walk the dogs, put on some gloves. Are you committed enough to do those things?
See, just berating her. Are you committed enough to do those things?
Are you committed enough to do those things?
And now she grabs the leash and she's going to walk the dog. Is she not?
Walk the dogs, put on some gloves.
No, she decides
Are you
not
committed
to.
enough to get the medication the dogs take?
She was about to do it. Now this says that he gets angry, and anger is screams, "I'll fuck you up." There's no video to confirm that, so we don't have to speculate about that. But yeah, just incredible that you would keep her just to put your wife through the stress of that when she's 8 months pregnant, forgetting the physical task of doing anything, just to be that much of an asshole to a person who's pregnant like that, just what the stress can do to them in that state is just unthinkable.
Well, yeah. I mean, you watch just what's going on between them there. It's like it's almost a cliche of an abusive relationship, like his whole behavior towards her, making her unsure of herself, putting everything on her. It's just, he's obviously a pretty sick dude. But you're right. Yeah, he'll get the Andrew Tate people if he decides to pivot that way. A little bit in the chat, people talking about, Candace Owens. You got some people who actually like Crowder. Audience. I'm very proud. I'm very proud we have a viewpoint diverse audience. I think there are sincere people in that space. Like Matt Walsh. I'd be very surprised if a video like this came out about him. That doesn't mean I agree with what he believes, but I believe he believes it. I believe that guy sees himself as a Christian values family man, and whatever that means, that I think that's how he conducts himself. Candace Owens. Some people are talking about Candace Owens. There's a really interesting movie on Amazon Prime, and actually now they just released a sequel to it called Uncle Tom. That's all about Black conservatives. And, Candace Owens, like a lot of particularly females on the right, started out a leftist and was disenchanted by the movement. And actually you hear this from a lot of Black conservatives as well. I'm not familiar enough with all the positions that she takes to really comment on them. I do get the impression from actually watching that documentary, she has a pretty plausible origin story. I don't feel like she's on the grift. That doesn't mean you have to agree with what she has to say. So to, dismiss all these people as evil or, I don't see it that way. Like I said, I'm not familiar with everything that she believes. But as a category, people like Thomas Sowell do not offend me. I understand where they're coming from.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. And as far as Crowder goes, like I even said on the last show, I said, it's not just that I don't agree with what he says, it's that I don't think he's a good guy. That was even before this, right? He does not strike me as a good person. But even so, I wasn't gonna go here if his story was what it was, then I would have seen no reason to do this. And the only reason I felt the need to do this now is because as a twin dad myself, that triggered me at a few points. But also, the main point that I want to sort of finish this segment on is the fact that you saw there a guy who was very uncomfortable and unwilling to sacrifice anything, right? I mean, you're sitting out on the porch having a cigar. And
he's living the life.
Right. And he seems just put upon and very put off by the idea that he's going to have to give some of that up because he has a family now, because he's
That's
starting a
not what it's
family now.
about. That's not what it's about. It's about control. Because if it were just about having his freedom, the guy has all the money in the world to
Oh, that too.
buy space from responsibility. Everything that has to be done, he has more than enough money to pay for it. That's about control. That's
sure.
a sick narcissistic person who likes having that kind of control over that woman. It's not about feeling put upon by her being pregnant, because he has enough money to buy his way out of that situation.
No, certainly. Yes. And to a large extent, what you said is obviously certainly right. But I think, when that day is coming, when your life is about to change in that way, yes, you have a lot of money you can throw at that, right? You can hire a night nanny to feed the kid formula, breast milk while you sleep, so you can sleep through the night, so that you're not up all night with the baby, right? Or in this case, babies, right? So yes, there's some of that, but there's also there is an element of, if your wife needs you, she's going to need you to be there for her as a spouse, and in that sense, you can't just hire someone and put the thing on them, right? Because there's that element of bonding where she has to feel like you're there for her, like you're sacrificing something for her, because she is making a big sacrifice because the babies are in her, right? And so you have to match that with a sacrifice of your own if you want the marriage to remain intact. And so, yes, there are lots of things you can throw money at, but there's certain things you can't, right? That bond that you're trying to keep intact through this very, very tumultuous time, ultimately a very rewarding time, hopefully. But that's something that you have to keep intact through work and through effort and through a degree of sacrifice, which he's not willing to put in there. So it is, I think, a combination of those two things. And, as someone who's very much on the left, who does not lecture people on how they should live their lives, I'm a very family values guy. I live a very family values life. I don't lecture people about it the way that a lot of the right wingers do, because, as Russell was talking about earlier, I don't have those same insecurities that they have about themselves, right? I just kind of am who I am, and everybody who can be who they want to be, and that's fine. But as someone who does care about family, who does value family, family is about, yes, there is effort and sacrifice that is required. And so when these right wingers come on the air and they lecture you about the importance of family, the importance of a mother and a father, they are looking at it as they want to build their kingdom that they preside over. And part of it is, yes, that control, right? You had a guy saying on the show, I forget what it was called, the pro Crowder stream. It was like, well, he's the man in the house. He makes the rules. He is the breadwinner. He makes the rules. So if he only wants one car for the family, then that's it. There's only one car. We don't have the right to ask him why he only has one car. He's the man. He makes the money. He decides who has the car and who doesn't. Like, that's how a lot of people fucking think. And so when they start preaching family values, they're coming at it from that point of view. Many of them, not all of them. Like I said, you got your right wingers who walk the walk and, have 7 kids and they're married to the same woman for 50 years and, God bless. But then you have these people too. You have these people too, who are clearly just full of shit.
Well, and
are coming at it from a completely distorted perspective of what it means to be a husband and a dad.
Yeah, and you've always had a lot of people like this hide out in those conservative movements.
Right.
It's the perfect disguise.
You're trying to force everyone to have the values you have as well. You just do it in a different way. Well, I mean, I do try to impose. Yes, I mean, I would recommend everybody adopt the value of not berating your pregnant wife to pick up dog shit. Like I'd say that's pretty universal. Like I would say
fascist.
I would say if your wife is 8 months pregnant and you're sitting on your ass having a cigar and your dog needs to take a walk, you should walk the dog. Yes, that advice applies across the board. I will say that. Again, not imposing that on you. But yes, I strongly recommend that. Absolutely.
Well, it's because you're a Nazi.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. What can you say?
Please clap.